Good morning, 7 East. It is Wednesday, people. I hope we are well rested, kind of, from our return trip from Albany, our virtual trip. It is now our 39th episode of LEPRE Radio. It is Wednesday today. We're all fresh off the virtual bus, the non-magical school bus, and we are back in Westchester, and we are going to go back to our U.S. history content today. And we are starting our 8th unit, our last unit of the year, and that is going to be on the Civil War. So it's a jam-packed episode for you today. All content. I'm sorry if you were hoping for some memes of the day or animal news, but we got a lot of stuff to set up because this unit, it's our last one. This is my last chance to really give you some information to start us off. So everything relates to something in the social studies subject area today. But first, our daily countdown. It is Wednesday, 5/27. I believe... Actually, I don't even have my countdown with me. I think it's... I can't remember what the last one was. Was it 23 days? 22 days? It's low. But at this point, we're the last unit. We should be satisfied to know that we're in the last unit. There's no additional assignment today. A new assignment coming tomorrow. If you didn't finish your Albany Reflections assignment, please make sure you do that and submit it. And make sure it's quality work. Otherwise, we're going to send it back. Remember, it's worth 4 classes. So, going back to our initial agenda, causes of the Civil War. That's what we're starting off with today. We talked about one mainly from the week before, and that was slavery. But I separated into the 3 S's. Slavery, sectionalism, secession. Say that 5 times fast. Let me try. Slavery, sectionalism. Okay, I can't do it. Slavery, number 1. Slavery was always the most controversial issue since the beginning of the country. Most states, especially in the North, thought slavery was cruel and barbaric, wanted to make it illegal. The South needed its slaves to keep their economy alive. Without their slaves, the South would be poor. Southern states would never willingly accept slavery being made illegal. Sectionalism. When America rapidly expanded in the 1800s, the country became a lot more divided. Different areas of the country had their own concerns, and the United States didn't really feel united anymore. As a result, people started to become more loyal to their section of the country than the country as a whole. The South was the section that was the most isolated from the rest of the country because of slavery. Many Southerners felt that they would be better off forming a separate country rather than remain in the Union of States. And that leads us to secession. The end result of sectionalism was secession. The official exit of a state from the country. That is what secession means. When Abraham Lincoln won the presidency in 1860 as the Republican candidate, the Southern states believed he would do whatever he could to end slavery. Rather than lose their slaves under a Lincoln presidency, they decided to leave or secede from the Union and form a separate country, called the Confederate States of America, or CSA for short, often nicknamed the Confederacy, just like the United States is nicknamed Union. South Carolina was the first state to secede in 1860 and was followed by 10 other states soon after. The secession of the Southern states created a crisis. The Constitution did not say a state was allowed to leave the country, but it didn't say a state wasn't allowed to either. People just implied that it wasn't allowed. President Lincoln considered secession an illegal act of rebellion and would not accept the independence of the seceding states. At this point, there was still no war. There was a chance the two sides might come together as they always had through compromise. But after the formal secession of entire states, this result seemed unlikely, with war being the only alternative. When the Southern states seceded, they considered every square inch of land in their states to belong to them. The U.S. government disagreed. The government still had forts throughout the country defended by federal troops, that is, troops in the U.S. Army, the National Army. One of those forts was located in South Carolina. So Lincoln tests the South to see how serious they are. To test the seriousness of the Southern Confederacy, Lincoln sent a mission to resupply Fort Sumter in South Carolina. If the fort was resupplied peacefully, maybe it meant all-out war could be avoided. But if the Confederacy used violence to stop the resupply of Fort Sumter, then Lincoln would have more than enough justification to send the army to the South to stop the rebellion. And this is kind of a speech that Lincoln gave before he was president, and this gave Southerners the idea that he really was set out to end slavery. And here he says, "A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government," meaning the United States, "cannot endure or survive permanently, half slave and half free. I do not expect the Union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall, but I do expect it will cease to be divided. It will become all one thing or all the other, meaning it will either be a free country or a slave country. Either the opponents of slavery will arrest the further spread of it and place it where the public mind shall rest in the belief that it is in the course of ultimate extinction, or its advocates will push it forward till it shall become alike lawful in all the states, old as well as new, north as well as south. So he's basically saying there's no middle ground here. Eventually America either is going to be all free or all slave state. And to the mindset of the Southerners, this meant that he was coming for them and he was trying to end slavery. And that brings us to the election of 1860. I'm kind of going in reverse order here. But in 1860, you have a very contested presidential election. You have 4 candidates. So Abraham Lincoln, the Republican. John Breckinridge is a Democrat. Stephen Douglas is also a Democrat. And then you have John Bell, the Constitutional Union Party. And here's how the votes play out. It shouldn't surprise anybody that Lincoln doesn't get any Southern states to vote for him because they see him as extremely anti-slavery. But he does win the election. He has the most popular votes, not a majority, he has a plurality of them, but he does have a majority of the electoral votes because the North has a greater population. Pennsylvania, New York, states like that. And then that directly leads to secession. So the 11 states that secede are in blue down below. The purple states are the ones that secede after Fort Sumter, and the border states are states that have slavery but did not secede. So half the country pretty much is gone. And here we have Fort Sumter in South Carolina, right along the edge. So Lincoln, those states have left. He's trying to test their will to fight. And here it is today, a photograph of it. And South Carolina has just seceded, and they want control of the fort. They believe that every square inch of land in South Carolina belongs to South Carolina and now the Confederate States of America. So they're going to try to take over this fort. But President Lincoln, not so fast. He's in no mood to give up the fort. And what happens then, as Lincoln tries to resupply the fort, the Confederate soldiers attack the fort, and eventually the fort surrenders and the Federal troops inside are allowed to leave. But that marks the firing, or the opening shots fired, of the Civil War. And now it's going to be all-out war until one side wins. That is your very fast introduction to the intro to the Civil War. Tomorrow you're going to see a video on the first major battle. So this isn't a major battle, this is the first shots. But I think only one person died, and that was someone from the South in some accident. But the first shots were fired. Lincoln has gotten the message the South is willing to fight to make sure they stay away from the North. So, just to cap everything off, we have some Civil War facts for you that you may not have known. I mentioned this last week, but more Americans died in this war than any other. The number of deaths in the American Civil War is about equal to the number of deaths in all other American wars combined. The Medal of Honor, America's highest military award, was created during the war. And I think most Medal of Honors were either awarded in World War II or the Civil War. I'm not exactly sure. But it was invented during this war because there's going to be so many lives lost that the government wants to honor the sacrifice of those who fought for the country. And even in the 1990s, some areas of the country were not completely rebuilt from the destruction of the war. The entire city of Atlanta in Georgia was destroyed in 1864 and only had the last few burned out buildings removed in preparation for the 1996 Summer Olympics. So imagine that. Over 100 years later, all that stuff, that the destruction was not fully cleaned up yet. Here's some just interesting technology facts. First time an early submarine, machine gun, and Ironside battleships were used in war. Ironside battleships, meaning those ships that have like metal on the sides, made out of metal. First time America uses them. They were actually used earlier in the 1850s in the Crimean War in Europe, but this is America's first go at these type of battleships. And 7 future U.S. presidents fought in the war. So this war affects everybody, and it's certainly going to set the tone for future administrations, as presidents in the future are going to be veterans of this war. Jam-packed information for you. You may have to rewind it to get all that information soaked in. But this will be Mr. LEPRE signing off for today. Please make sure you finish the Albany assignment and get ready for your new assignment tomorrow. It's talking about North versus South. And actually, I should have said the video about the first battle is actually going to be on Friday, not Thursday. So stay tuned for that. Mr. LEPRE signing off.